All right. So I know a lady called in yesterday and I'm inviting her to call back. I don't know what she wanted to say on this topic, but part of the problem is this. It comes down to who you work for, and dishonest employers taking advantage of people, right? So one of the things that one of the observations that I've made from these caregivers is they say to them, well, we're not getting paid because they're saying that Cynico isn't paying them. Hmm. If you are running a business, okay, this is business 101. You have to make sure that you can afford to pay your workers, regardless of whether or not your invoices are getting paid. Now, that's going to sound a little bit crazy. And I will have to break this down and really make sure that everybody's on the same page. But you can't hire people and then sit down and say, well, this month, these invoices have to be paid in order for my workers to be paid. You need to have money in reserves. And this is where a lot of small business people, oh God, some of these contractors that even I use, I can tell that they don't manage their business well. They don't, they're horrible. Friday come, they do a job for you today. By Friday, they chasing you down. Oh, Miss Sandy, you can pay that invoice for me? I'm like you just finished yesterday. Yeah, but I need to pay my guys today. Today's Friday. I need to make payroll. So if you didn't get my job, how the hell were you planning on making payroll? How are you going to pay your guys? You should have at least a couple months worth of salary in the bank for your workers. This is when y'all not operating your businesses correctly. You jump in, go get a business license, and you don't know what the hell you're doing when it comes to running a business. You're supposed to be able to make payroll even if your current outstanding invoices don't get paid for 30 days. But that's not how y'all work. Because as money comes into the business, you're spending it quicker than you're making it. I bet you're paying yourself. Most of you not going without getting your mortgages paid and eating. And this isn't really unique to caregivers. It's construction workers. It's across the board. How you can hire people and don't know how you're going to pay those people. Things happen with contracts. Sometimes people are late. Sometimes they're not paying or whatever. So if you can't foresee that you have contracts that are going to be paid in time, money's in the bank, money's received to pay your workers, this ain't going to work. So Cynical allegedly, in some situations, is taking months in order to pay out. And because of that, the caregivers are being told that they can't get paid. Well, this is quite an interesting situation. I mean, I do question, why is Cynical, they sounded like they becoming like NAU now. Why are they taking so long to pay people? That is a question. Right? Good morning, Miss Sandy. I'm an experienced, loving, dedicated, passionate caregiver who loves to take care of the elderly. I have crazy love for them. I'm in need of a job. I'm currently but desperately in need of deliverance because I've been waiting 2 and 3 months to get paid. This is crazy. Only God knows how I survive. Right? I'm having to borrow money to pay my bills, and it's all kind of excuses of cynical. I can't take it anymore, so I'm seeking a job. So my question is, how are you here? Are you in a work permit? Yes. Okay. So how many people are employed with this person that isn't paying you? Because if they're doing it to you, you better believe your bottom dollar that they're doing it to other people as well. 2-3 months without pay? Come on now. You know you get paid every month in Cayman and you barely can survive. Forcing people to go 2 and 3 months without pay is unlawful, number one. It is immoral, number two. How do you fancy that they're going to be surviving? So I am curious One person I want to call, if I can get her number. In relation to this, these caregiving companies are just popping up all over the place. And it seems to me that these individuals don't have a clue how to run a business. They just want, oh, I can grab a contract, show it to Cynical, and then, hire these people, take out work permits. Some of them still having people pay for their work permits. They're not giving them pension and health insurance. It's like, come on. What's going on here? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, caller. Hi, pleasant morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I have a lot of concerns. We has caregiver. I am a caregiver here, and I am certified. Right? I am employed by a private person, meaning the person that I'm taking care of, they are the person who employed me. They have my permit. I am being paid through Cynical, right? And I got the job. I started to work for 3 days. My client went into the hospital for 1 month. And for that entire month, I am not paid because Cynical does not pay while the client is in the hospital, which I did not know that before I got the job, right? So for 1 month.
Let me understand what you're saying now, because you're saying you're being paid through Cynical, but you don't have any direct contact with Cynical. Is that right?
No.
Right.
But I called them too to find out about I am not being paid while the client is in the hospital. They said that that's their policy, right?
So somebody hired you. Is this a caregiver company or just an individual family that you're working with?
An individual.
All right. So somebody hires you, and they don't say to you that we're hiring you from this date. Did you come from somewhere else or were you on island?
I was on island.
Okay. So you left another job.
Say that again.
Did you leave another job to take up this job?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh my. And so they didn't bother to then tell you that the person is still in the hospital, you can't get paid, or they weren't intending to pay you, obviously, and Cynical isn't going to pay you until the person comes out of the hospital. They didn't tell you any of that.
No, the thing is that, honestly, the person who employed me did not know that Cynical would not pay me, right? So apparently the patient that is sick is a family member who employed me for the patient, right? But they did not know that Cynical would not pay. So I did a contract, right, with the family that I would come and take care of the patient. First, they wanted me to do a living job, right? I agreed, and I give them a salary that I would like to receive for the month. 1 month plus every other weekends off, right? That was into the contract. It was submitted to Cynical. Cynical refused from giving me a living job. They said that 2 persons has to do the job, right? So they did not grant me that living job, right? So when the client went into the hospital and I was expecting pay, that's when the lady showed me a letter, right, that Cynical sent to her. And I said, well, this letter is very late because I already agreed and started working. None of this was put out to me, right? They said that they can't do anything else because they can't afford to pay me, right? So it is Cynical, right? So for one entire month.
Let me pause you there for 1 second, right? I mean, it would be their responsibility to know these things if they are taking it upon themselves to hire someone and then expecting Cynical to pay for that person's salary. But ultimately, the work permit is with the employer, not with Cynical. So that person, whoever they are responsible for paying you, whether Cynical pays or not. So that month or whatever period of time that Cineco said, no, we're not going to cover that. We're not going to pay. You don't have insurance coverage, because Cineco is an insurance company. They're not an employer for the purposes of this situation. Your employer, the person who took out a work permit and stated that you'd be making whatever dollar amount per hour, is responsible for paying you. That's what the legal position is. So don't let these people hoodwink you into bringing Cineco into the mix. Regardless of it was an honest mistake, they better find the money to pay you, because they owe you that money. Did you work? Did you work, miss?
I said, I'm saying that I worked for 3 days.
Then they must pay you for the 3 days.
Well, she did pay me for the 3 days. But the point that I'm saying, if I am employed to you and my client goes into the hospital for 1 month, what am I supposed to do for 1 month? Because when I was getting this job, it has to be approved by Cineco. Before I got this job, in spite of her taking out the permit and everything, all of the paperwork was have to be up to date for Cineco to approve that I can get this job.
No.
Automatically.
Let me understand something, because I've never gone through this process with Cineco. So what you're saying is Cineco approves you as the caregiver?
Yes, because they got me and they had to put in this paperwork. They had to put in the paperwork to Cineco. So
no. Let's back up, because they're two very different things here. Cineco might be approving the coverage for a caregiver. Cineco probably doesn't care who the caregiver is. My question to you is that you're understanding that you specifically have to be vetted and approved by Cineco. I don't think so. That being the case,
but what?
Right? This employer that has hired you has to understand that the Cineco coverage for your services only covers if the person's in the home and you're there taking care of them. If they're in the hospital, and you can understand why Cineco is going to say, why would we cover for that? The person's getting hospital care. You know what I'm saying? That person doesn't need to be there if they're in the hospital, if they're in ICU or in the medical ward or whatever. If you're still employed with that person, they have to know that it's their legal obligation to pay you outside of those periods that Cineco is going to cover. And this is the point that I was making before. These companies must have money, or individuals must have money in reserve, and figure out a way of how to pay people's salaries. Yeah. If the person is going to go in the hospital long term, what are you supposed to do? Sounds like you better find yourself another job.
That's definitely what I'm saying, because this is being very, very unfair to us as a caregiver. In the island, there's no, if somebody have your permit, so I am a caregiver now, and God forbid if I should go somewhere else and to do some work, because I wouldn't want to go again and to cancel my permit and to do all of that procedure. And if I am having a patient and that patient gone into the hospital 1-2 months, and if I go and get an illegal job, what will they do to me?
Exactly.
Right?
And that's
so in everything, it is not a, we have our bills to pay, right? We cannot live here free.
Exactly.
And working for sitting down for 1 month waiting on your patient, because this is your job. And the patient gone into the hospital and it leaves you unemployed, because automatically you are unemployed for that 1 month. So you are not earning.
Yeah.
You understand me? And
and this happens all the time. Even with construction workers, the other day, construction worker reached out. Oh, his boss doesn't currently have any construction contracts or any jobs. So he's out there looking for work. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. He was asking me to post it on CMR. I'm like, I can't post that. That's against the law. You're not supposed to be working. Your employer has agreed to pay you when they fill out that work permit application. They've agreed to pay you, whether it's an hourly wage, a monthly wage, or whatever. And it's not incumbent on whether or not they have any work. If they say on average, I'm going to be paying this person 40 hours a week at $10 per hour, immigration has taken that, or WORC has taken that into calculation, and whether or not you're making enough to survive in this country, and whether or not they should approve that work permit. So because they don't have a contract, or because they don't have work, they're supposed to still pay you. And this is why employers need to know and understand the law and know the position that they're in, and also make sure that they're explaining things properly to their workers.
And I think that is the thing about it, because when you see the contract, the contract states, right, that you will be receiving this amount by Cynical. It did not say they will pay this money.
They have
It
to
will
pay it.
because
No.
said,
Let me tell you something, honey. I'm pretty sure that Cynical isn't cutting you the check. So Cynical is not your employer. Now, someone did clarify that Cynical, for the purposes of figuring out, how much they're going to pay for the service, Cynical does vet the individual caregiver in relation to their qualifications, and that deems how much Cynical is going to pay. But Cynical is not the one writing you the check. Is that correct?
Definitely not.
Okay. So they can't put in a contract, add Cynical into it when Cynical is not even part of that contract. Cynical not signing anything. Cynical is not paying you directly. It's that person, whoever that person is, who hired you and took out your work permit. They are your employer. And as your employer, they have a legal obligation to ensure that you're getting paid, whether Cynical is paying them for a period of a week, a month, or whatever. There's a lot of education. Listen, people are getting permits approved for businesses and they have no clue what they're doing. And this is very, very concerning. I keep saying that DCI needs to do more than just handing out and doling out licenses. There's no enforcement. There's no checks and balances. There's none of this that is taking place in this country. And it is putting people in a very precarious situation, because I'm sure that you are here trying to live and survive in the Cayman Islands. You probably have a family back in Jamaica that's depending on you to also assist them, send money back, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of position does this put you in?
Exactly.
How can you survive?
It is. Yeah, and that I think that there soon be no persons who are willing to do caregiving jobs. So I think there's going to be a crisis here sooner or later, because persons are going to refuse from being a caregiver. Because if this continues, it doesn't make any sense for us. It is not benefiting us in no way, right? Sometimes the jobs that they are supposed to do, and it's just overwhelming at times. And it will become frustrated to know that you are doing so much, and at the end of the day, it is not benefiting you at all.
Yeah. And some people get so frustrated that they end up taking it out on poor elderly patients, which is unfortunate, but I know sometimes that happens as well. And
I hope they don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's horrible. Trust me.
I love my patient. Honestly, I tell my patient, if I did not love you or care for you, I would be gone. Right? But my patient is at a delicate point. And right now, honestly, I really want my patient to get over the odds. And when my patient get over the odds, it's like me put my patient before my needs. Me just want my patient to get over whatever the situation that the patient is going through, and we just gone, because it is like nobody have your interest at heart. It does not have your interest at heart.
It's a very sad situation, but I think you have to be with an employer that understands the law first and foremost, and understands the process, right? So some of these employers don't want to take out health insurance for people. People get injured on the job. One guy during COVID broke his arm. He couldn't work. He's in construction. The employer, he doesn't have no insurance. He's not going to pay for him to, he was off for weeks trying to recover and get better. I'm having to go in from my little donation basket, right? Take out canned food and stuff to take to this man, begging people on his behalf who can take him a plate of food. He can't cook because his hand is broken. He can't help himself. Meanwhile, his employer, a Caymanian Jamaican guy who owns a construction company, not doing nothing to help him. And these things are creating third world situations that we should not be tolerating in this country. And it's putting good people at a real disadvantage, and it should not be happening. But where is enforcement? Where is DCI? Where is what are the other ones called? DLP, Department of Labor and Pensions, DLP. Where's WORC? They know which industries traditionally are doing this. Why are they not on top of it? These caregiver businesses overnight have just popped up all over the place. Everybody wants to have a caregiving business, just like lawn and gardening services, just like construction, just like cleaning services. They're some of the biggest offenders on this island of taking advantage of their workers. They're not paying people. Yeah. And I said the easiest way to enforce the whole salary and make sure people are getting paid, number one, everybody who comes to Cayman should have a bank account for the purposes of receiving your salary. Number two, employers should have to directly put your salary in your bank account or give you a check. That is paper proof that you've been paid.
That's right.
And then WORC needs to do spot checks. They need to come in and do an audit, right? They receive a complaint. Show us the deposit slips of where your 5 employees are getting paid every single month. And then if employer can't show that, you don't get a business license and you get your behind taken to court for non-payment of your staff. But that's not happening. Yes. So they're not paying people, right? Not paying for insurance, not paying for pension, not even paying salaries. And there's no one there to look out for workers. This is ridiculous. As a country, we should be ashamed that we are importing workers and allowing this to happen, much less. And there's so many people who are being hoodwinked. All these ads popping up all over the place in Jamaica on these websites, talking foolishness about, come to the Cayman Islands and work. And the same resources that they're using to advertise, Instagram, Facebook, our government should be posting and advertising all over Jamaica platforms saying these are not legitimate companies. They're not legitimate ads. Do not give these people your money, talking about they can get you work in all sorts of industries. It's a scam. And people are being taken advantage of.
And what I think too, not only companies that they really need to look into and need to educate these persons who they don't have a company, because I am not in a company. Yes. I am working with a private person.
Yes, but she's still an employer, right? And she's still obligated to know the law.
That's what I'm saying, because apparently all of this that is happening,
and ignorance of the law is no excuse. Her claiming that she don't know the law is no excuse. The law still applies. Yeah. So she better know it. And she better find you your money and pay you too. Miss Olive says I better hit the hallelujah button. Hold on. She said that one needed the hallelujah button. My dear, you need to find yourself a new job and a new employer who actually understands. And I know sometimes that's difficult, especially when you get attached to some of the people that you're taking care of. But you got to take care of yourself first. You need to make sure you're getting paid. Okay?
So true.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
936-2626. We do have another caller joining us on WhatsApp. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can turn like Charmaine now.
Yeah, my dear. Sometimes you got to do that.
But Sandra, my question is, where has Caymanians gone with compassion, fairness, and being good to their helpers? No, I'm not saying that this is all Caymanian, because I have experienced that these people that come from abroad has found that loophole, and every Jean, Mary, Dick, and Harry is having an agency. Government, DCI, or wherever it starts, need to get proper. You think you could come to the UK and say you open up an agency to take care of the elderly or the sick without you going through some state exams, state this, everything is a state. That America's the same way. Why are we so gullible to everything? We do not need those amount of agencies in Cayman, and they need to start to read them out. I've come in cases where, and it breaks my heart because I know how I treat my workers, or I don't even say workers, people that is employed by myself. We will do without, and I know this from my whole family. We would do without to see that our helper or helpers or employees are treated fairly, and sometimes beyond, because I take them sometimes as family, which is sometimes not a good thing. But that is the heart that we have. That is how the compassion that Caymanians have. I have seen where home now where you have someone that's going in to take care of the elderly. Then the people, but usually is the now it's coming down to Cayman, they got their mother and father elderly there. They want Seneco to pay for taking care of them. They want Seneco to pay for being the nanny. Want Seneco to be the housekeeper. Want Seneco to pay for taking care of the cats and dogs. And then you as the employee, bless them their heart, those helpers or caregivers, they can't say anything. You know why? They are so desperate to have a job. But it's unfairness, and the government needs to start to arrest them and charge them, put them in jail, because they are using our money, which is the public's purse, to take care of some of these no good people that want babysitters. Cases, I've known cases where the helper goes taking care of the elder, then staying on weekends, sleeping over to take care of the children, while the mamas and papas or mothers and fathers go out and have a good time and paying them $800. Is that that is not right? And I'm telling all expats or whoever it is that doing it, report them.
Yes.
It got to be rough that you can't go back to your country and eat bananas and beans and plantain. Do not stand up for this kind of behavior. Caymanian, we were not made to be like this.
Exactly.
This is why it hurts me.
Yeah.
Because this is not us. This is not us. All of this behavior, we need to settle it, Sandra. People, I feel sorry for people when they come and work in our country and can't get paid 2 months, 3 months. Something needs to be done. And you can't fuss with NAU and all of them in this case, because they're just they're paying what it may. Seneca may take a while to pay, but they still get it. And they need to streamline. Seneca needs to streamline it, ask for the proper documents, and DCI needs to step in and say, hey, let's go and see what you operating. Let's get recommendations or reviews of how your agency is run. And I bet you a lot of them will stop. I bet you a lot of them will stop. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jerry says this is modern day slavery is what it is. Karen says once you get the Seneco packet for applying, it's clear what it entails and how you go about the process. It's not difficult to understand. Kaboom, says Cameron. Magdalene says common sense ideas, audit trail for renewals of business license and permits. I mean, Magdalene, I don't know why it's so hard. We put these things in place. We need enforcement, right? But there's no enforcement. Remember the other Caymanian girl who had a business and she would take out, I forget what kind of business she had. Was it caregiving or construction? I think it was construction. Take out a insurance and then go cancel it. Wouldn't pay after that, make it get canceled. And then when it comes time to renew the permit, she would go to another company. You mean to tell me it took years to catch on to this woman? Why? If they were doing proper checks, it would have been easy to catch her. And you see what the judge said? Oh, my hands are tied. You should never have another business in Cayman again, but I don't have the power to do that. Why doesn't the judge have the power to do that? Because our legislators, once again, MPs, they can work really fast when it comes to getting us off a gray list and a black list, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but all these other issues that we need passed and we need legislation and support around, we can't get it. What are we paying them for exactly again? Try and remind me. Something getting $9,000, $12,000, and they're not coming up with no ideas. They're not pushing anything, motions that really matter to the people. Natasha says, agreed, it should be mandatory that all work permit holders must open up a bank account. Cameron says this stuff has been going on for years, and we spoke about it. We spoke about it all the time instead of nipping it in the bud. Ms. Karen says Seneco offers 3 types based on qualifications. I think it's 2 or 3. And Ms. Karen also says that she doesn't understand the process. I have caregivers. You're correct. It's not Seneco's problem. When my mom is in the hospital, I still pay my caregivers. These people are just ridiculous. El Rey says, if the care is being given by the hospital, why should Cynical pay? Well, like I said, it's logical that they won't. Magdalene says, tell them. That's why the minimum wage issue needs to be discussed. Increased wage, increased operating costs, therefore cost of goods could increase. Well, I hope y'all ready for it. You want more money, right? The cost of everything will probably go up as a result. And there will be some businesses who will naturally close because they can't afford to pay more than $6 an hour. It is what it is. Cameron says, someone asked me one day if I could take out a permit for them. And when I said that I can't afford it, they boldly said, I don't have to worry about pension and health. I was flabbergasted because once again, Cameron, so many people out there breaking the laws and there's little to no enforcement. So nobody not scared of getting caught, right? And even when they get caught, it's a slap on the wrist. I saw another caller calling. Let me call them back, see if they had a comment on this. Carla says some people... Number you dialed is temporarily out of service. Oh, Lord. I mean, I know how they were calling me if it was out of service. Or is that my phone can't call out again? Oh, Flo. What a hot mess. Get me my toll-free number, Flo. Gosh darn it. Carla says some people ask a friend or family member to take out a permit for them, even though they know that they have no work for them all the time. Not even friends and family. They're doing it for total strangers now, honey child. The person on permit pays for their own permit, their health insurance premiums, and also pay the person who took out the permit. Facts. Oh, Jesus. Leroy says some caregivers get vehicle live-in at a good salary. I've seen it. Well, that's probably not a whole lot. Carla says Cineco does pay salaries for caregivers for the elderly. The person applies for a certain type of permit and Cineco covers the salary. But let me say this. It's paid to the employer who then pays it to the worker. As far as I know, Cineco is not cutting a check to any caregiver directly. And in fact, y'all want to hear something else that's been going on? Some of these so-called employers are skimming off of the top. So say, for example, Cineco has decided to pay $10 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour. They're taking half of that money, pocketing it for themselves, and then turn around and paying the caregiver $6 or $7 per hour. That is illegal, folks.